All
All
right,
right.
all right, all right. Now, for everyone who's looking to the right of me, wondering who the hell this guy is, this guy right here is Smoking Jeremy. He's closer to the action at Ford Field as well as Allen Park than I am, but he got here because Ashanti, of course, my graceful co-host, could not join us tonight. He's a little bit under the weather. I know a lot of people been under the weather as of late. I ran across two people today actually that had COVID in my line of work, so I got the hell away from them very quickly. My daughter, she's got a little throat and nose issue going on right now, so something's in the air. Definitely something's in the air. But hope that man does great getting back, and he will be back with us in the next couple of days. But so Jeremy
Yes.
Ballright for that matter, man. Let these people
Yeah.
know exactly who you are.
Oh, look at that. That's my buddy Ricky Sakat. He watches from my channel. I am Jeremy Volrick. I write for the South Florida Tribune, and they own the Motor City Tribune, which gets the Lions media releases. So I get all the stuff right out of Allen Park prior to most people getting to see the presser, because the presser, is on a delay. They have to do it because they have to circle out the comments all the time. But I hope that everybody is doing well. I hope everybody is blessed. You can also find me on my channel, which I'm streaming into, which is Kneecap Biting with the Motor City Lions, where I talk football almost every day of the week.
Definitely, man. Jeremy been meaning to get you on for a minute. During the season, things get kind of hectic with the recording days and times, and people got day jobs and afternoon jobs and night jobs and all that good stuff, and children and everything. But it's great to finally get you on. There's no better time to have you on to this time of year. Let's get to some of these comments real quick, man, because we got some people on here who really love this show, man, and been down with us for a while. This is my
Oh,
brother
yeah.
right here. What's going on, Rob? Fellas smoking. What's up? We love
Hey, glad
everybody
to
that
be
come
here.
through here. Love everybody coming through here. James Burgess flew here too, not as bad as the Honolulu Blue flu that killed the Vikings. That's a good one right there. That's a good one.
Uh,
Ricky Sakot, hopefully I'm pronouncing your last name correctly. If not, I apologize. Prayers up to your children, but hope they recover soon. Definitely.
hey,
Who
hey,
else we
well,
got through
let me
here?
let me get you that one. That's Ricky Seacott. His great grandfather was
Okay.
pitcher for the Black Sox. Eddie Seacott.
Really?
Yes.
We got everybody here, man, tonight. This is what's up. This was up. Michael Lucies. Also, hey guys, one pride. Patty Grimes. How you doing, lady? What's up? What's up? What's up? James Burgess. Cool. Nice to meet you. Definitely. Casey. Casey here all the
Yeah.
time. Casey says, don't believe the hype and NFL trying to make this a premier matchup. Lions are going to destroy the Commanders. Maybe Teddy Bridgewater seeing a fourth quarter. Casey, man, you ain't holding them up. You came out with 40 cows blazing. Completely. He
Coming
got
out like
straight to it.
Deadpool.
Definitely. So tonight we're gonna hold off on predictions and everything. I think everybody here pretty much believes that our Detroit Lions are gonna win the game, whether you believe they're gonna win by one or they're gonna win by 15 or 30 or whatever it may be.
Oh,
But we're gonna hold off on that tonight. We just want to get you guys a good breakdown of who the Washington Commanders are for that part. Um, so Ricky also says if you need Lions information and news, JB knows it before the Lions even knows it. He's been my rock for all news Detroit. Yeah, definitely. Last couple
I mean,
years, man, I've been following Jeremy. Jeremy been right about a whole lot of stuff.
I even was right on who we'd get in the trade this year. Everybody was so high on Max and so high on Miles, and I think I sent you a message. I said, "Look, it's going to be one of these four guys. It's going to be either Bryce Huff, um, Traylon, Trayvon Walker,
Yeah.
Aziz Ojolari from the Giants, or we're going to
It
end up with
still could
Zadarius
turn out
Smith."
to be Walker. It could
Yeah,
still
I
turn out
know
to be Walker this offseason.
it could, because now they're going to have another new head coach. But the stupid thing they're doing is keeping the same damn GM that's been screwing it up for 4 straight years.
Oh, good old trusty Balky, huh?
Yeah, Trevor Bell.
Yep. So, like I said, tonight we're gonna get into the Washington Commanders. Didn't want to just start telling everybody about exactly who they are as a team and this and that, and spitting a whole bunch of numbers out at you about the team. But we did want to let you guys know, and gals out there who's listening also as well, how this team got to the point that they got to. So if we go back to 2023, man, and I don't like to really throw anybody under the bus, but if you remember, Sam Howell was the starting quarterback 2023. He took over the tail end of 2022. They gave him
Mhm,
an opportunity. I don't think he really had a puncher's chance at all last season. There was a lot going on within that organization that was very non-conducive with the opportunities for a young quarterback to succeed. He had one of the worst pass blocking offensive lines in
mhm.
football. They weren't too far behind rushing the ball
Which
wise as well. Um, he had some guys at wide receiver who didn't pan out, who were some higher picks. You look at De'Ami Brown, Jahan Dotson, the guy you talked about in the
Mhm,
pre-show. Terry McLaurin's been great for them, for that matter. Very good
mhm,
player out of Ohio State. But they've missed on a decent amount of players. Even if you go to the defensive side of the ball with Emmanuel Forbes and the
mhm.
linebacker out of Kentucky from a couple years ago, who played better this season in comparison to what he was and the expectations they have him coming out. But what do you think about Washington and where they came from? Because we're talking about a team now who, if you're looking at it for what it is, Dan Quinn came in, took over a 4-13 team. And this
Right.
team was terrible. Like they were 25th in points scored, 32nd in points allowed, 32
Mhm,
turnovers.
mhm. Yeah, here's the thing that a lot of people don't realize. That first half of the season, the 7th game is when they got that 4th win. They were 4-3 through 7 games, and through those
Yep.
7 games, Sam Howell was leading the league in passing yardage and touchdowns because they still had their left guard that was starting playing and their excellent right tackle that was starting playing. Both of those players went down in week 7, and that offensive line crumbled like wet paper.
Yep.
And that was the
Definitely
main
did.
difference because think about this, he only had 8 sacks through 7 weeks. He ended up with 65 sacks on the season on him. In a short period of time, that's bad r that's like, well, the last week that, Chicago played us and the last week that they, and last week when the Vikings played LA.
Well, I will say this also because I was for a good 3 years at North Carolina. I was a big Sam Howell fan. I
Mhm,
felt that at North Carolina he didn't get a fair shake. I felt sort of like, if you look at Drake May and make the comparison, I think Carolina kind of, for lack of a better phrase, ruined both of them
right.
roster wise, scheme wise, just putting the balls in their hands and telling them to just drop back and just throw the ball
Make it
consistently.
happen.
Yeah, exactly. So, I love the skill set. I know a lot of people at that point in time didn't like him. They had these Baker Mayfield complexes about him. They looked at the dark hair, looked at the same type of height, body weight, um, body type, size, and all that stuff, which didn't make sense at all. But if you look at what he took over for and what he had in Washington, and he was also in a situation, and this happens a lot, I think, with young quarterbacks, and this is kind of a death sentence for young quarterbacks. When you come in behind one of those tough, try hard backups like Taylor Heineke, who kind of galvanizes the locker room, and the guys, the veterans in the locker room love him, it's kind of hard for you to make your way through that and break through that because you're still a rookie, you're still learning on the job. And now you're in a situation where you have a locker room that's, hey, look, we want to win now. We don't have time to wait on this rookie kid to get things together. We got this veteran, but Taylor Heineke was never really the long-term answer neither. And the
Right,
organization understood that he was the Washington Commanders version of what the Jets had in Mike White. People liked Mike White in spot duty, but those type of guys aren't going to be your starter week in, week out. So they knew ultimately they were going to have to move on and get a legitimate quarterback. So, in comes Jaden Daniels, in comes uh, Dan Quinn. And I said this earlier on in the season. I felt I was really happy for Dan Quinn because he was a guy that didn't get a complete fair shake in Atlanta for what happened in there and how everything fell apart towards the end of his reign there.
Um,
But they are, and this has happened in back to back years because it happened with Houston a year ago. And I think their situation is more comparable to Houston than anyone else's, except for the fact that they hired a veteran head coach and they didn't hire a first time head coach in Dan Quinn. This is a team that they hit on the quarterback, at least for right now. You know for sure that guy that you have a head coach can get a team to a Super Bowl because he did it before.
right.
He's
His
been a
problem in
part
that
of winning programs in Seattle. Like he's
right,
been there before. You just need to make sure his defense works. His
right,
scheme works on defense. So he's a guy that if you get him the tools on defense, he will eventually turn things around.
right. Now, Ricky asked about Chip Lindsey coaching Sam Howell. He didn't become the offensive coordinator there until December of 2022. And in 2022, Sam Howell's in the NFL. So, no, he did not coach him.
Well, see, there you go. There you have it. This man has all the information, all the information.
I was
But
looking it
yeah.
up while you were talking because I didn't want to beep in and say something out of context. But yes, they asked about what I thought about the po- post on ESPN of AG and Ben Johnson leaving. They
Mhm.
posted the exact same post last year at this time. Remember this? It was the same person, Adam Schefter. Same exact
Yeah.
post, same exact time, just before the divisional round, getting ready to face Tampa Bay. And he goes, Detroit has to face the facts that they're probably losing both coordinators this season. Both of them came back. So until it happens, it hasn't happened. That's where I'm at on it. I haven't heard about a second interview with anybody yet. So if there's no second interview scheduled, it's nothing to worry about. Until I see a second interview scheduled, I'm not scared. I'm
Well,
more
you
into
you
what
got to
Ben
create
Johnson said a
news,
week ago.
Jeremy.
I know, but I'm more into what Ben Johnson said a week ago because he kind of shot it down just before he accepted all the offers. Because he sat there, he goes,
Yeah.
"Head coach is in my long term goals, but right now I'm having fun here in Detroit, and my family loves it here."
Yeah.
Those are some key words, man. And that does make news to me.
And it would make even more news if he turned around. He accepted a Raider job in 2 days.
No, I know,
So,
I know, I know. But he
it
can't.
happens,
The
man.
problem is they can't accept the job in season, and as long as the
Definitely.
Lions are in the playoffs, it can't be announced. They can announce a second interview, and that's when you got to worry is if a second interview gets announced. So far, there's no second interview. So until there's a second interview, I'm just saying it is what it is.
No, you're 1,000% correct, man. 1,000% correct. But you know how it is. I mean, it's that time of year.
Yeah,
Uh,
everybody's
once
getting
coaches
crazy.
start, yeah, once coaches start taking interviews, it's going to come up. Period. But speaking of coaches, let's hit the Commanders coaching staff. Kind of an unknown, aside from, of course, like I said, Dan Quinn. And if you're a football fan, unless you've been living under a rock for the past 5, 6 years, you know exactly who the offensive coordinator is. And one of the hottest names in coaching back when he was coming out of Texas Tech, left there, went to the Arizona Cardinals, met up with Kyler Murray. They had this great plan to get that offense firing on all cylinders. Never quite got to a level where it was sustainable. Now, people forget he and Kyler did have some success there. They
Yeah,
got to a point where they did start one. I forget which season it was. They started 9-1, and eventually the bottom fell out. They ended up going
2021.
into the playoffs. Yep, as a wild card, and that was the infamous loss to the Rams where Kyler refused to go back into the game.
Wait, it gets even better. They were 10-1 when they faced off against the 2 or no, the 1 and whatever Lions
Oh, the
and lost.
infamous Amani Warrior interception.
Yes. Yes.
His one career highlight.
What that whole year was his career highlight, wasn't it? Didn't he have 6 interceptions that year?
Yep, yep, yep.
Career
Contract
high,
year.
tied with what's his name down there in Cowboys. The only difference is the Cowboys one had all pick sixes.
Trayvon Diggs. Right.
Right. Cliff
So
had 2 major runs, and then the one that the Lions stopped in Motown, and it's become a thing. It's called the Kingsbury flop when he's a head coach. It happened at Texas Tech. It happened at Arizona. The first half of the season, he'd go like 7-1 or 8-0, and then all of a sudden, he couldn't win more than 3 games the rest of the season in his career, whether he was in college or in pros. You know what's funny is that goes back to Pat Mahomes.
yeah,
He coached Pat Mahomes. And then you know who's the only quarterback that's beaten Mahomes 4 times in college and pro?
I know you know, Jerry.
Jared
You know.
Jared frickin' Goff.
Oh, a
Cal
gal.
beat Cal beat Texas Tech 2 times in the bowl games of Jared Goff
Also,
with
Jared's
Mahomes.
undefeated. He's
And
undefeated
Jared's the
against Patrick.
only undefeated guy with more than 2 wins versus Pat Mahomes in college and pros combined. Is that crazy or what?
It happens, man. It happens. Sometimes it shakes down like that. But I
I
think,
mean,
Kingsbury, man, you look at he's always had a good rushing attack, a really good rushing attack because he's
mhm,
always ran his quarterback. So I kind of question if he's able to architect a more, not necessarily a prehistoric Russian attack, but is he better in regards to gap schemes,
right.
zones,
It
pulling?
that's the biggest thing. They went to a zone blocking instead of man blocking this year. You see that, and that's what Cliff Kingsbury preaches. He brought in zone blocking offense line coach, and that zone block helps the running backs find better gaps. But Brian Robinson Jr. is the better between the tackles, whereas your Austin Eckler is more of a scat back and occasionally can go between the tackles. I'm not saying he
Yeah.
can't. It's just he doesn't have that attack speed that you need as the bigger power back to go through those holes in the middle. And Brian Robinson Jr. is also considered day to day right now. He may
Yep.
not even play this week. Marshawn Lattimore is out on defense. So if they're left with Austin Eckler and the other guy, that lowers their rushing ability greatly because the other guy's a speed back too.
No, no. I mean, you're right. I like Rob. Actually, I do like Brian Robinson Jr. Liked him coming out of Alabama. Um, Kind of has a ceiling, and that's no real knock on him. Most running backs do. Those diamonds, those five star talent guys, the effort with the Saquon Barkleys and the Derrick Henrys, those guys don't come around that often. The Adrian Petersons, for a while, the Todd Gurleys, those type of guys they don't come around that often. Everybody else is kind of a based upon what your scheme is and how you're used, how often you're used. Are you the first, second, third down back? Or are you just the second down back? Are you just the third down back in passing situations and you're not being used properly? But this is a team where you're not really so fearful of them rushing the ball with those running backs and that offensive line. Is more so the quarterback and how you're going to defend that. But I will say this, they do a pretty decent job offensively of taking what's given to him. And
Hmm.
that's really impressive for Daniels, even though Daniels played a ton of college football going back to Arizona State before he even got to LSU. And I think you can credit, think about it, man. The two best rookie performing quarterbacks in the league this year were both super seniors, Bo Nix
Yeah,
and him.
yeah,
Experience
100.
matters, snaps matter.
Bo Nix, him, and also Michael Penix Jr., who really
True.
didn't get a chance. He came in late, and I think that hurt his ability to do anything with that offense because he didn't get to practice the first team
And
offense
he
until
had
like
one of the
what week
craziest
13.
journeys
Yes,
to being the first round pick, like being at Indiana and suffering the injuries he had in Indiana. And
and then going to
Lions
Wazoo.
fans pretty much know who Penix was if you're a Big Ten football fan. Like Penix was,
Penix
yeah.
was a good QB that just didn't get a fair shake in it where he was at. He needed to get out of there. The offense really didn't fit his playing style. They didn't have the right type of wide receivers. And when he went out there to Wazoo, he looked good.
Same thing with Jaden. Like Jaden was a class act at Arizona State. They just never, for whatever reason, Arizona State has never, they've never really been able to pretty much recruit as good as Arizona, and Arizona hasn't been able to recruit California as good as USC, which you would kind of expect, or even Oregon for that matter. Like Oregon, they
Oregon
ravaged
drafts
through California.
Oregon drafts better, or recruits better from California than UCLA.
Yeah, well, that's
And
they're the what, the
I know,
Michigan State, they're the
yeah,
Michigan
I
State
know.
of
They're the little sister.
the
They're little sister.
well, let's be honest, USC ain't too far from falling off, man.
I know. That's why I said little
Remember where they
sister.
were
They're
at
playing like
after
girls
John
out there in
Robinson left?
California. Did you hear what I said?
Yeah.
They're playing like girls out there in California.
Oh. Well, just remember where they were when John Robinson left
I like
and
to
how
have
long
fun.
how long it took them to recover. But yeah, all right. So back on track, man. So yeah,
Yep.
USC. We went from one burgundy and gold team to the other burgundy and gold team.
Right.
So yeah, Washington, man, they've been so dynamic offensively this season. Like I said, considering we all kind of blame Sam Howell and the offensive line. Well, maybe it's Howell, and maybe they should just give Sam Howell another opportunity. Maybe they should not draft Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams. Maybe they should trade that pick and get more players. That turned out to be a BS take because we've seen in back-to-back years the difference the quarterback makes, especially when
Hmm.
you hit on the quarterback, you hit on the head coach, and we go back to discussing Houston with CJ Stroud, the D'Amico Ryans, and that team turning right back around after drafting CJ Stroud and drafting Will Anderson, who looks like a defensive player of the year candidate next season. And it's you need to hit on so many things, but the head coach and the quarterback are the two key things right there. And you look at Houston, not Houston, but if you look at Washington right now, they're trending up. I'm not so sure if they're ready to compete with Detroit because I go back to the Houston Texans comparison from last season. Houston made the playoffs as a wild card,
Won their
and
first game.
they took down an unsuspecting Joe Flacco in Cleveland, and then when they went to go play a better team in the second round in Baltimore, they got boat raced, which it
Hmm.
should have happened because Baltimore was the better team, the more experienced team.
Right.
I think that's kind of where Washington is right now. They're a year ahead of schedule. I'm
And it's just like
shocked they went from 4 wins to 12.
I said they would be the surprise team, but I expected a 10-win season at most. I ain't gonna lie. I said they'd be the surprise team. They're gonna be second in that division. And that part I got right because I knew Dallas was falling off. They just didn't do enough in free agency to maintain what they had been doing. And I knew Dallas was falling off. But at the same time, if you look at that defense right now for the Commanders, they're giving up a total of 326.9 yards, which is great. The problem is they've given up 45 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And that's where I
They
want
also
to.
don't take the ball away much either.
Right, they don't force a lot of turnovers. They got what they've taken away 16, or no, I mean, they've given 16, and I think they've only taken away like 19 or 20. So, but that's not bad. That's more than one per game, but it's not enough for you to have a difference maker, is what I'm saying on that side of the ball. Their secondary is suspect. It's very suspect to the slant routes and the go routes and the posts, which is what I saw because they do a lot of that quarter zone defense where it's a two man, the two man zone where you got the safeties out there in two man and then everybody else is in man coverage underneath, which is like your quarters defense in a dime or a nickel look, but they're actually running a 4-3 look. I believe they're running, aren't they?
Yeah. Witt Jr., the defensive
Right.
coordinator. Don't know a whole lot about him, but if you go back to Dallas when he was there, when Quinn was there, you know
It
exactly.
was
They had the horses to run the defense coverage wise that Quinn wanted to run there. This year they don't. This is year one of the rebuild in Washington.
right.
That's another reason why I think they're kind of walking that plank because I'm not sure if they had the horses in the secondary to keep up with our guys
They
on the
won a lot of
perimeter
one.
either.
Won a lot of one score games in
Yeah,
the regular season, and they just won one in the playoffs. What happened the last time the Lions played a guy that won a one win just before the playoffs? Rams won a one score game to end the league to make the playoffs. Remember that?
definitely.
What happened? They lost to a one score team in the playoffs in Detroit, right?
It
Last year in the
happens.
wild card.
It happens.
Yeah,
I mean, look at what happened
and
this year with
that's
Minnesota
kind
and the
of
Rams.
that's kind of the cycle I'm seeing. And then Philly had to go to Tampa Bay because they were a division winner, even though they had more wins. But they had Matt Patricia running the defense doing that one man dime look that he does. It's so stupid with no pass rush. And Baker just torched it up. But
Yeah,
the thing that
definitely.
I say, for that 45 touchdowns, it don't sound like a lot. But when the Lions only give up 16 more total yards defensively than that team, and holds it has 8 less touchdowns scored against them. That's a huge difference. And that's even adding in the fact that they played that one more game already, because this adds in their stats from this past week.
Yeah, and it's everything always for them offensively goes back to Jaden Daniels. If you
Right.
look at the percentages and as far as team conversions, they're sixth in the league in third down percentage because he can
Mhm.
run. They're number one in the league in fourth down percentage. Not the Detroit Lions.
Right.
They have a 80. They have a fourth down percentage of 87% conversion rate
Right. But they also
because
haven't
they have
gone
a
for it
quarterback.
as much, but they have a quarterback that can run.
True,
So when the
true,
containment breaks down, he's able to get free and get that first down on his own, which is where a
true.
lot of his yards come from. If you look, they're fourth down broken plays. They're trying to
Yep.
throw, they're trying to do something because they're in that mid range. When they're going for it, it's like between fourth and three and fourth and six. This is what I've been noticing. And if that play breaks down and you have your guy outside doing that containment blitz and he's there with the tackle and you think, oh God, he's right here. I can spin inside. It's just like Josh Allen. Boom, around the outside he goes and he's gone. Or that hole opens up because the center finally pushes the tackle. Boom, he runs right up the middle, gets just enough yards. That's what he does.
True.
He's not a guy that's going to burn you for that 50-yard run like Josh Allen. Because Josh Allen, let's face it, he is
Oh, he
vanilla bitch.
will. He
I,
will. I
I,
think.
I
Well,
know. I'm just saying
he's
he
more. Yeah,
will.
he's more straight line faster than Josh. Yeah.
I just don't see him doing it yet because he also doesn't have that Josh brain yet. He hasn't even finished growing
True.
into his brain. Let's face
I
it, he's
think
a
he's
lot more
done.
frail. No, he's
Listen,
growing height wise,
Jaden's
but
been that same.
he might
Yeah,
fill out, is what I'm saying, as he's
I'm not
working out with
sure.
NFL teams. Well, we thought
Jaden's been
Jameson
that
Williams,
same size since what his
we,
freshman year
we
at
thought Jameson
Arizona
Williams was,
State.
we thought Jameson Williams wasn't going to fill out, and he put 15 pounds on this offseason, all upper body mass.
Yeah, he's got that Rip Hamilton wiry strong type of body for that matter. But as efficient as Washington has been offensively, conversion rate wise, they've been just as bad defensively. They're
Oh yeah.
27th in the league in fourth down percentage. They're 22nd in the league in red zone percentage defensively, and they're
Hmm.
15th in third down percentage. So, and this is, and they're terrible against the run.
Yeah, they are
That's the
30th.
key thing. I didn't want to make it seem like I was piling on Washington, but those numbers I just mentioned, and then you factor in the fact that they've been so bad against the run this season.
It, it,
Unless Ben Johnson gets besides himself and gets
what
too cute.
what's funny is we gave up less yards, but just as many touchdowns in the rushing game as what the Commanders did all season. But the
Yep.
difference is they're giving up 140 yards. And with Monty, he just announced, I'm playing and I'm not on a snap count for this weekend. I
Yeah.
if he's there, he's saying he's there without a snap count with him and Gibbs. You allow that duo to get 140 yards, you're talking 3 or 4 touchdowns.
Yeah. I mean, but it all comes down to, are we going to stick to the recipe? Or are we going to get too cute? Are they going to look at that secondary and see, are they going to look at that secondary and are they going to see barbecue chicken?
I think they made that mistake versus Tampa Bay in week 2, experimenting, and they said we ain't doing this shit no more. 'Cause you see, we still ran in the second half versus the Bills.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, "What are they doing running?" I was like, "Because that's what we do. We run the ball."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, now there's, of course, Washington. If you look at them overall, when you have a playmaker to the degree of Jayden Daniels who can make things happen with his arm, he can make things happen with his legs, of course. He has a big time playmaker and a star out there in Terry McLaurin. This is a team that, you have to take them serious. You have
Oh, yeah.
to because they do have some playmakers. Even a guy like KJ Osborne, who's also listed on the injury report, he can make plays.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
He was the best
so
slot
there's some
receiver.
guys, but there's not enough guys. Luke McCaffrey is a rookie. I don't know how much you can really expect out of him. De'Ami Brown, he's been being was I think De'Ami was a third round pick out of North
Yeah,
Carolina.
and he's been up and down this year, but he's looking better. You know
Yeah,
it's just like everybody says, "Oh, we picked the wrong North Carolina quarterback that year when they fell to the 7th round when we picked Antoine Green." Unless you actually
yeah,
dissect their stats, Antoine Green was actually the deep threat guy, and nobody realized it because he was a yak guy. Uh, he
yeah.
he got
But
19 yards
you know
after
what
catch.
though?
I just don't think he had the body to withstand the rigors of NFL. That's the problem.
Yeah. My
All in
issue with Antoine
trail.
Green was the fact that, and it's even the kid from Josh Downs from the Colts, he was there. He was there for 4 years and he was never able to crack the starting lineup at North Carolina. Like I sat
Right.
there and watched that Carolina team with Howell for 3, 4 years and watched him never be able to crack the starting lineup. To me, he was always a one trick pony. The
Mhm.
rest of those guys were more complete than he was, but you
Right.
always had in the back of your mind that if he hits with that speed, we may have something special.
Right.
This is a guy that may end up back in camp with us this offseason.
I know,
Yeah,
because he's
so it
under rookie
happens.
contract. He's under
Yeah,
rookie contract. That's why you don't cut these guys. And the NFL structured this rookie cap, so it penalizes teams for getting rid of the rookies early. It's not like it used to be where you can just get rid of them and go, "Oh, okay." Joey Uso, that's our resident Eagles fan that pops in. Good to see you, brother. But let's
Resident
see,
Eagles fan. Resident Eagle, Resident Eagle, Resident Evil.
Resident
Yep.
Evil. I like it. Yeah, because I have the feeling that's who we're facing in the NFC Championship game. I'm not going to say a score, but I think we're winning.
I got you. All right, so Dan Quinn, Terry McLaurin. This is a team that McLaurin's been through a lot.
Yeah.
They're in Washington. He's seen a lot. It's good that they're winning now. I don't give a damn about this weekend though. I don't care if he has 0 catches, 0 targets. We'll get deeper into the scheme for both teams, what we think Aaron Glenn can do against this offense and vice versa. But what do you expect from this team in because you can't really well, I'm not going to call it their first playoff appearance because it isn't. They just played last week, but this is like the first legitimate test because Tampa's a good team, but they're also a good NFC South team. So we know what that comes with. You're good this week, you may not be good next week. You put that on them, you put that on the Saints, you put that on the Atlanta Falcons. So you don't know how to really judge them because Tampa is another one of those up and down NFC South teams. But this is the very first big test for Jaden Daniels and them.
Right. And the way Meek's playing on the outside, I expect that's who they're going to put on Scary Terry because he's the closest in speed that what we got left that can start. So don't you agree with that?
No, definitely. Definitely. I
Okay.
think Terry Arnold, and we mentioned it during the earlier during week 7 in that matchup with the Minnesota Vikings. Me and Ashanti both felt that Terry Arnold was a better matchup for Jordan Addison
Right. And
because
he proved he
Addison
was.
isn't as yeah, he was. They're around the same height, same weight. Not really neither one of those guys are really straight line fast like that.
No, they
He's a
both got
guy that can
better
kind of match, yeah, they can kind
better
of
burst.
mirror each other's short area quickness.
Yep. They have better burst than they have straight line speed.
Yep, definitely. Definitely. And
And
that's kind of what they did in that last matchup a couple weeks ago. We're going to put him on Addison and we're going to let him meet go out there and compete against the guy he's competed against since high school.
now today was just the walkthrough, so I didn't expect much. We had a couple guys sit out today. Ennis Rakestraw set out because he's got an illness. I hope it's not that crap that's been running through the team where a guy misses all the time. Zietler missed, but they said that was more of rest because of that mild hamstring strain. And they're going to wait till Thursday to evaluate him. So he's going to rest again tomorrow. But I'm not worried about it because you know why? Christian Mahogany, when Zietler went off the field, you couldn't tell that Zietler wasn't out there.
Man, I'm so happy to see him. I was so happy to see him play, man. I was high on him coming out. Me and
So was I.
Ashanti both pre-draft. We felt that I did about 4 or 5 mock drafts. and I took
I was
him in
I was
in
taking him in
all
the
of them.
second or third round every time.
Yep. Because if you watched any Boston college football, which you have to be a college football degenerate to watch Boston College, you would realize that okay, this guy looks like a pro. But it's weird how when you evaluate, at least how the NFL evaluators evaluate these offensive linemen, they look at these guys. I think they're starting to draft seniors and super seniors higher more now because
Right.
the offensive line play has been so awful, and so many highly regarded tackles have bombed out in the NFL over the past few years that now they're looking at it as I might almost be better off drafting a 24-year-old rookie at offensive tackle or a
And it's true.
25-year-old
Yep.
rookie at offensive tackle.
And the same with guard. If you look at it,
Yep.
Jonah Jackson. Jonah Jackson was one of the last ones that had to sit a year when he transferred from Rutgers to Ohio State. And I make this joke all the time. In college, do you know
Yep.
what the only sack was he gave up? The Isaiah Simmons sack on Justin Fields. In his career, his only sack
Get out of
was
here,
Isaiah
man.
Simmons busting Justin Fields in the mouth to take Ohio State out of the playoffs that year. Remember that? That
Yeah.
was when Clemson went on to win it all.
But good old Mahogany. Like
Yeah,
I said, I'm just
Mahogany.
glad that Mahogany. We needed a young guy to step up. Source Daw's not the answer. I think
I
long
think
term,
Sorsdal's
you're
came
looking at a
from
guy that you hopefully he's a third option, maybe in
right.
a pinch can help you out. Mahogany has the prototypical size, the prototypical nastiness, the power
Yeah,
that you
if
want
you
out of a
actually
starting left guard.
I see what you're saying there, buddy Tito, but at the same time, if you look, it's not that they're athletic mobile quarterbacks. There's only a few of them that are actually athletic quarterbacks. Even
Right.
Goff is mobile when he needs to be. It ain't
Yeah.
granted, it ain't pretty, but he gets it done.
Yeah. And even though Jalen Hurts is mobile, they don't run him nearly as much as they did that Super Bowl year
No,
at
because now they
all.
got Saquon, they don't have to.
True. True. They also
Yep.
don't throw the ball as much either. So that's another problem.
And AJ Brown is one to watch. He may be limited this week.
True.
He came up
Um
lame in that last game when they smacked the Packers in the mouth. But this is for all the
yep.
Packers fans watching because I know they watch my channel because I go into the Huddle Sports Network. I got one thing to say. Don't come at me saying you can beat the Lions in the playoffs when you can't even beat the Bears in week 18. Oh, wait, you ain't in the playoffs. We ain't got to worry about you no more.
Listen, we came a long way. We deserve the right to rub it
Yeah.
in everybody's
Yeah.
face. So it is what it is, man. Um, I want to go through some of the Washington Commanders injuries real quick.
Yeah.
Uh, I forgot Jeremy Chin. It's funny too, man. Jeremy Chin had that great rookie season with Carolina,
Yeah. And then
and
fell
then
off.
after that, he just fell off. He fell
But
off.
he was quietly having a good year this year. It
Yep,
wasn't
yep.
great. It wasn't stellar, but it was middle of the league, like somewhere between there's think about it. There's two safeties on each team. There's 64 safeties. He was in the middle of the road. He was in the upper late 20s or upper 30s in ranking, which is right where you'd want an average team to have. You don't want to see him averaging down there in the 40s and 50s because then you're in the bottom of the league. And neither one of their safeties ranked that low.
Yeah. Are you surprised by Emmanuel Forbes and how bad he was? And I'm gonna say this because I'm honest about all of it. Christian Gonzalez was my number one overall rated corner in that class. Forbes was number two. And I admit, I got caught up in the underwear Olympics, not the
Hmm.
combine. Because when he showed up at the combine looking like, I don't know, like he was Earl Boykin small. He
Right.
didn't look that small at Mississippi State at all. But when you looked at the 40 time, the straight line speed, you looked at the ball skills, the pick sixes, I fell for it. He had just enough short area quickness. I figured, you know what, this guy is going to be a good enough athlete, similar to what, even though he's nowhere near the athlete, the raw athlete Dominic Rogers Cromartie was. But I thought he may get better impressed. He may get
And
stronger. He may get more physical. It never happened, and I just never thought he would get to the league and get manhandled the way he got manhandled the first couple years.
You know what the problem is? He looks like a little Jeff Okuda right now.
I just don't understand how he doesn't have any definition to his body. And I'm not
Right?
trying to
I'm just
clown
saying.
this kid.
I'm
Like
not trying to
he
clown this
has
kid either. You
dude, he
know, because
has the most straight up and down body I've ever seen. Like there's no shape to his arms, his legs, nothing. He looks like a 12-year-old
he
old
turns
boy.
sideways, he blends in with the goalpost.
Dude, he looks like a 12-year-old boy.
I
It's
know,
strange, man.
I
It's
know.
strange.
But Christian Gonzalez is turning out to be exactly what you thought. Him and Devin Witherspoon that
Yeah.
year.
The
Those
studs.
two, those two are the studs. The year before that was Sauce Gardner, and then you got to say
He's kind of
because
fell off. Stingley,
he,
but it's funny, you got to get those corners a few years
yeah,
because Stingley has turned into an all pro.
Yeah, he turned into an All Pro, but he wasn't an All Pro right out the box. Whereas rookie All Pro was Sauce Gardner. But what has happened? He's fell off because the rest of the defense has fallen off because the whole
Remember
team
the other
gave up.
corner from that class, Kyer Elam. He turned out to be a complete bust in Buffalo.
Yeah, what's up? How you doing, Spirit of Detroit?
Yeah. Yeah, man. Ashanti, for everybody who's just joining us late, Ashanti a little bit under the weather tonight, so he couldn't join us. So I decided to have this guy on, man. Like I said, this guy is closer to Allen Park and closer to Ford Field more routinely than I am or anybody else is. And we just going through the Washington Commanders tonight. Started out talking about how this team, at least where the team started at under Sam Howell last year, Ron Rivera, the worst rated offensive line in football, committed the most turnovers in football a year ago, 32 turnovers, which is still astounding. That's an average number wise of what,
Yeah,
2.5 turnovers per game.
just about. Yeah, 2.5.
Yeah, that's beyond ridiculous. But like I said, they hit on Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn is a guy who he had the experience. He had the experience and the reputation. He called a great defense in Seattle. He had a great team in Atlanta. Got all the way to the Super Bowl, and to me, it wasn't his fault. I thought he took way more blame for that than he should have. I thought Kyle
I,
Shanahan still escapes a lot of blame for that shit. Being
Kyle
honest with you.
Scamahan. I'm going to tell you like I call him. It's Kyle Scamahan. He's done the same thing in 4 straight Super Bowls, including the Atlanta one.
Yep.
Get the lead, goes into the half, comes out, doesn't run the ball, lose the lead, lose the game. That's what he
Yep.
does.
Yep. But Dan took the blame for it. Kyle left, got with the guitar. He got Kyle left, took the job in San Francisco. Tony Gonzalez retired. A few other guys left. Michael Turner was gone after that, shortly after that. Who else left? They lost a decent, like little by little. Matt Ryan was never the same after that once
Nope.
Kyle Shanahan left.
No, because they didn't resign their center, and the center changed, and that was the start of the fall from
Alex
the
Mack.
inside. Yeah, Alex Mack. When they didn't resign Alex, as a matter of fact, Alex Mack went with Kyle Shanahan. Remember, became the center there in San Francisco before they drafted their next one. So when you do that, I think Sam Darnold in the last 2 weeks played himself self out of even a franchise tag. Come on now. You know what? It's funny, but it's the truth. What's funny is there's a meme that just went across on Facebook, and I saw it, and it shows that little graph of all the teams in the NFL, 30 of them, right in a circle. It says, "Did you beat Minnesota this year?" Of course not. They won 14 games, and it shows the Lions logo and the yellow LA Rams one, but we beat them twice.
You know what, man? I don't wish bad on any players,
No.
but I feel as strongly as I felt towards Darnold, mainly because I went from being one of the biggest Jared Goff skeptics to being one of the biggest Jared Goff supporters. Like I found myself being Jared Goff's big brother now. So I feel
Hmm.
like when people disrespect him or they give the other quarterback undeserved credit, because it bothered
Hmm.
me all season that this dude, you saw 5 years of terrible football from this dude. You see one good year under Kevin O'Connell, and now you just and I understand because for people in the media who don't care for the Lions, don't respect the Lions, the people have this spot in their head that they just can't get past that lion on the helmet to believe that this organization is good and they've turned things around, that they're legit. You're looking for someone to constantly put ahead of Detroit. And I think that's really what it was. So, and I said all season, the guy's playing good, but at the end of the day, when it came to that Minnesota game against Detroit, last game of the season, people have to remember Darnold had never played in any game of that magnitude in his life,
Right,
especially not in the pros. You're talking about Monday night at Detroit in that environment with those stakes.
right.
And then you ask
Everything.
him to go play on the road at the Rams the very next weekend with those stakes, win or go home. Let the man do it for 2 or 3 years straight.
But
That was my whole thing.
if you watch what the LA Rams defense did, they did exactly what AG did the whole game with
Oh,
better
it's
success.
it's funny, man. When Darnold looks confused with that big Frankenstein head of his, it's amazing. What
Like I
happened?
said, I've called him all season Arnold Schwarzenegger. Come with me to the chopper. Give me your hand.
Yeah, he does have that action figure head, man.
He
Rob says I like Darnold. I think he just needed a change of scenery, much like Geno Smith.
Oh,
Um,
100%. You know, if you look at, I said this preseason when I was looking at the rosters, I said, roster wise, if you look at it, Minnesota's going to be one of two teams. If they get the New York Jets, Sam Darnold, they're going to be a 5 to 8 win team at best because they have a great defense. They have great wide receivers. They just signed Aaron Jones, who's a solid running back. They've got other pieces in place to make that a solid team. And their O line is the best he's ever played behind as a starter. I said, but if he game manages and just plays good, they're going to be rivaling the Lions for this deep for the conference because of what the roster around him, not because he's that good. He's a game manager that doesn't really elevate anybody's play, and if as long as he plays good, he doesn't give the game away.
yeah, but the thing is this also, and Kevin O'Connell, I think he's gonna take his lumps. He's learned, he's been there long enough, he's been in the league long enough. You got to constantly reinvent yourself, especially if you're not built off physicality. The reason Detroit can keep doing what they do year in, year out offensively is because it's all predicated off of physicality. All the trick plays they see, all the smoke and mirrors and everything, all the pretty stuff, it's all there, but it's all built off of physicality and running the football. And if you look at Detroit, we gave the game plan week 7. They started undefeated. Green Bay scored, I think, 29 against them that previous week, and then week 7 we cracked 30 on them. But if you get physical with them, and I said this about Justin Jefferson, I've been saying this for years about him. You give a player like him, a wide receiver like him, a bunch of free runs, a bunch of free releases, he's going to destroy you.
Hmm.
There's no rational reason why any receiver in this day and age in the NFL against these D coordinators and these coverages and these palms and these quarters and these cover 3 matches, there's no reason why any wide receiver should be able to get 240 yards
Nope.
unless you're just awful as a defense.
That or you are the next Calvin Johnson at
Yeah.
wide receiver.
Or
That's it.
Jamar Chase.
Right.
Or Tyreek Hill in his prime. But yeah, if you lay hands on Justin isn't the most physical wide receiver. That's why I've never believed he was better than Jamar Chase. Even though he came in ahead of Chase, I never believed he was better than Chase. I think if you look at Malik Neighbors is built just like Chase. They're physical, thicker, stronger wide receiver. They like the physicality.
And so is Marvin Harrison Jr.
Well, yeah,
Whereas
out
Brian
of Ohio State, yeah.
whereas Brian Thomas Jr. is more built like Justin Jefferson.
Yeah. But he's that 6'3" fast guy.
Right. Right. Just
Yeah.
like Justin Jefferson.
You know.
You know?
Yeah, but Justin's more of a finesse wide receiver. He's every bit. I don't believe that dude's 190. I never believed he was 190. He's close to
No,
180.
and I still say because of his skill set, I'll take Amon-Ra St. Brown over JJ
Yeah. Yeah.
because he does the one thing that JJ refuses to do. Blocks downfield in the run game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at Minnesota as a whole, they've got 3 really good wide receivers. I like Jalen Nailor, like Jalen since Michigan State, Jordan Addison, and
Mhm.
Justin Jefferson, but they're all kind of like 3 1 and the same. They don't have that strong physical guy. And I'm not saying that it has to be a guy that's 6'4", 240. The guy can be 6 foot 190 and be a tough guy. A fit like they don't have that type of wide receiver in their room. So if you're looking at a bunch of wide receivers that don't like to be touched, they don't like to be redirected, it throws off everything Kevin O'Connell likes to do
Are you
offensively.
were you surprised at JMO showing how tough he was the last couple of weeks, like stiff arming guys while running? It was
Yeah,
kind of funny to see. You know, even though
definitely.
it didn't work that great, it still only got him 4 yards on the sideline. And somebody said, "Oh, look, JMO's falling on his butt." I said, "Did you see the other guy that got knocked into a face plant on the sideline? He
Right.
he shoulder checked him down to the ground. He just couldn't stay on his feet. Doesn't matter. He was out of bounds anyway."
Yeah. See, James Burgess agrees. I take Chase over JJ
Hmm.
too. Chase, yeah, Chase got that dog in him.
And you know who else has that dog, and we don't give him enough credit? Because he's got more kids than a Chinese chins in a Chinese phone book. It's Tariq Hill,
Yeah,
because he's
yeah,
got 3 100-yard postseason games too, and not all of them with Mr. Mahomes. He had
yeah,
one last year in the Polar Bowl that was in Arrowhead. In those sub-zero temperatures, he had 100 yards receiving versus them. So,
definitely, definitely.
Chase has had two. Amon Ra has one. Guess who's had zero postseason 100-yard game?
JJ.
JJ.
You know what's funny, man, about it? And I made this comparison last week. Well, after the Minnesota game, after we routed them. If you go back to Odell Beckham Jr.'s rookie year and the splash he made, the big splash he made, everything changed one Monday night
Yep.
against the Minnesota Vikings and Xavier Rhodes.
Mm.
Every everything changed because Xavier Rhodes was 6'2",
Owned him.
218 pounds,
Owned
and he
him.
put his hands on him.
Yeah.
And he put it that's all sometimes that's all it takes for all the listeners out there who don't remember and know who Xavier Rhodes is. Xavier Rhodes was a big for no reason corner. Like he 6'2", 218 pounds, athletic, 4'39", long arms, could scratch his could scratch his feet standing up, could jump, physical. He was a guy that used to give Calvin Johnson problems
Mhm.
because he was so physical. Calvin used to rave about Xavier
Uh,
Rhodes.
uh, yeah, not only that, there was another guy that gave Charles Johnson fits, and he was the only other corner to do it in our division. Peanut Tillman. Peanut Tillman
Yeah.
owned Calvin Johnson.
Well,
He
yeah,
just
bigger, long arm corners that would get physical with Aqib
Mm,
Talib. Now Talib
Aqib Talib
wasn't
is
as
good,
big
but
as
he
those others.
right, but he also needed the safety help. You can say what you
Yeah,
want, he always had the safety help over the top, and normally Calvin Johnson makes those two-on-one catches all the time, but for some reason, those guys had his number and could defend the ball away from him.
yeah, definitely. Talib was athletic for for the 6'1", the 210 that he was. Very once again a guy that had very long arms, so you could play a lot of off press with him. I mean, a lot of off man press with him. You could do a lot with him, and as you said, some zone. But you wanted to always keep that safety over the top because he didn't really have the long speed like that. But
Right, and he would
Akey was
get
a
burnt.
competitor. That was the whole
Aqib
thing.
would get burnt.
Calvin talked about the guys that competed with him.
Right, and those were the 3 that he talked about. Xavier Rhodes, Peanut Tillman, and Aqib Talib. They were the ones he respected the most because they were the ones that did the most one-on-one with him.
Absolutely. So yeah, but getting back to Minnesota and
Yep.
yeah, but like I said, Odell Beckham Jr. Once teams saw, okay, you know what? Even with Josh Norman, Josh
Mhm.
Norman wasn't the athlete and didn't have the measurables that Xavier Rhodes had, but he was a pit bull and he competed. Guys like Odell Beckham Jr. and this guy that we were just talking about, Justin Jefferson, you have to get up on those guys and give them problems. And that's what Amik Robertson did. Is Amik Robertson as good at his position as Justin Jefferson is at his?
No.
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 But he
But you
doesn't
know
have
what?
to be. It doesn't
Nope.
have to be that way. Sometimes there's a
What
guy that just has your number.
what's his quote? You can't put in the dirt what came from the dirt.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
that guy's a dog. That's what he is, 100%. 5'8", plays like he's 6'3". That's what I saw.
What else we got on here, man? Let's get to some of these comments.
Yep.
RXJ, whoever you are, I appreciate you very, very much. Hello, friends. Hello, friends.
Yeah,
Make
yeah.
sure y'all hit the like and subscribe button as well. Corey Patterson agreed with you. He did, but
Yep.
Peanut Tail Man.
Let's go,
Peyton
Cubs.
St. Meringue Maross, what's up, buddy? Said, let's go do it.
Yeah.
What's up, my baby? Corey
So,
Patterson also has another comment. Talib just said, if you're if you score on me, I'm snatching that chain.
yep.
That was,
That was the
hey, but
chip
you
when
know,
he said that.
we joked about that during the game. Like Justin Lucky, if listen, if Talib would have been out there, Akeem Talib would have been out there, he'd have snatched the earrings out,
Yep.
he'd have
He just
snatched the
snatched
chain off.
the chain off. He just stole the ring off his pinky finger.
Exactly.
Might have still had the pinky in it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
man, I'll
Okay, let's not
anybody that'll get down on their own cousin the way he did. I'll just
right.
for those I'm not gonna comment on it, but for those who don't know, Google
Go
Akeem
find
Talib.
go Google Lakeith Talib and his cousin. Yes, 100%. But,
Yeah, buddy. Poor
it
Calvin Johnson. That should have been a touchdown in Chicago. Yeah, that man. Listen, that shit
back
ruined my Sunday. I cut the TV off after
yeah.
that play.
You wanna know what was sad about it? 2 weeks later, it's a snowy day in Green Bay, and you watch the replay during our halftime of Randall Cobb catching the ball, falling down, laying down, doing a snow angel, setting the ball on the ground and get up, and it still counted as a touchdown.
They got it wrong against us. They had to make sure no one else had to hurt behind it. As long
Well,
as
no,
we
but
hurt.
they made that the Ronnie Lott was not as good as Ronnie Lott, but his disposition made him the legend. Dark golf or bowling league, it matters. Love you,
Yeah.
James Burgess.
System update. Ronnie Lott was not as good as Ronnie Lott, but his disposition made him the legend. Dark golf or bowling league. All right, man.
I love him, man. He's great. One of my
Oh man.
good fans.
Oh man. Corey Patterson. What's up, Corey? Corey always joining us. Says the
Yeah,
all-time BS call Calvin ass knee and back hit the ground. Yeah. It was terrible. Anybody that but you know what? I think that play right there is what started all the bullshit in the league.
it did.
It started the snowball. Now we don't know what an interception is. Now we don't know what a catch is. Like now we don't know
Now
what a
we
fumble is. We don't
now
know
we
what
don't
a
know what a
knee
catch
down
fumble
is.
is. A catch
Yeah,
fumble. It used to be if you had caught the ball with both hands, took 2 steps, and somebody punched the ball out, that's a fumble.
exactly. Joseph Osteen, what's up, man? Two Lions fans, hello. Joseph always joining us as well.
Mhm.
Um, we got off track a little bit talking about Lions because we are Lions people. But all right, so get back to Washington. Like I said, this is a team that won 4 games, went from 4 games to well, went from
12.
4 wins to 12 wins in one season, hiring a veteran coach, being able to hit the lottery on the quarterback position, getting the right guy. And this is a team they're growing. They may be a year ahead of schedule, but who knows? Like I said, we bring up the Houston Texans. They got their year one first head coach. Well, he was a first time head coach, rookie quarterback. So Washington, they could be a team to reckon with over the next 4, 5, 6 years, for that matter. But I just think right now, this team, if you look at them roster wise, they're still a decent amount of time away, man. I
Right.
just do.
I see too many holes in the secondary. I see holes still on the offensive line, which isn't as good as it could be, but it's better than it was last year. And they're probably one more star wide receiver away. I'm not saying a number one because Scary Terry's a number one on every roster other than the Bengals in Minnesota. I don't care
Yeah.
what anybody says. He's a number one anywhere else because he's played with total shapoo quarterbacks and got good stats. So, um,
Well, yeah, I think Jerzon Newton, and I was real high on Jerzon Newton last season heading into the draft. He's a guy who he's for me, he's a prototypical three tech. I know a lot of people had issues with his arm length coming out of Illinois. I loved him as a player, but I think he's a guy who he needs to be next to a DJ Reader
right.
or Grady Jackson. He needs somebody, he needs a nose.
He
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 needs
he
a
need
one tech that can take up some of those double teams in the middle because he's too small. He's not a small defensive tackle. He reminds me a lot of Dwayne Robertson. I don't know if you remember Dwayne Robertson from the Jets
Yes,
back in the day. Yeah, around
yes,
that same size,
right,
frame, height.
but a more of
But
a true 3-4 nose nickel or nose
yeah,
tackle. He who
yeah,
just put his hand in the dirt, and he'll just drive people back into the quarterback. He didn't care.
definitely.
You know,
And he can help in the run game. But if you're asking Jerzon to be your anchor in the run game, you're doing him a disservice.
right. Uh, I love the fact that Monty was a full go, not just a limited. He was a full go at practice today, and he comes off the field. I ain't limited. That's all he said.
I ain't limited. But you know what though? I think another thing. Also, even I think Brian Robinson is a decent back. There's some really good running backs coming out of this draft. And
Yes.
I wouldn't be against giving him Jaden a star running back, a stud running back, kind of transition the rushing attack away from being so Jaden centric, Josh Allen esque. Because, like you said, he's not 6'4", 250 like Josh Allen. He's a very slight built guy. I don't see him, even if he does put on a little bit more weight, those
Mhm.
shoulders ain't getting no more broader. And he's
No,
not gonna thicken out too much. And you don't want him to put on too much muscle and start destroying his mechanics and all that. But I do think a stud running back will help him out a lot moving
I think
forward.
Genty would be perfect if they could get up there and get him. I
I like
know Genty,
Amarion Hampton from North Carolina too.
yeah, but what I like about Genty is he's done all this with so few carries in the NCAA because he
Yeah.
wasn't a starter his first 2 years. This was his first year as a starter, and it wasn't a torn MCL that they already threw that out. That's why it was a partial, not a full tear. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to come back. He had to go to 3 different guys and get it confirmed by 2 that it wasn't a fully torn MCL before they could skip surgery. That's why he never went on the IR.
Well, it all depends on how far you think he falls. Does
Right.
he go
I
past Carolina? I think he'd be great for Bryce Young.
Oh, if he goes to Bryce Young, you pair him up with his running style with Chuba Hubbard's, which is a little quicker, shiftier back. You could turn
Yep.
Chuba into more of a scat back and develop
Yep.
his receiving skills and use Ashton
Outside
Genty.
zone, wheel
Oh,
routes. He can
yes.
utilize his speed, his long speed.
And
Yeah.
screen passes, get him in space. Yes. And
Well,
then you
listen,
have Ashton Genty to
Genty
run
can
up the
help out a
middle.
lot of
Ooh.
people. He can help out Dallas.
He could
He can
help out
help
the
out a lot of
he
people.
could make the Patriots better. Say
Yeah.
say what you want, but I think the Patriots are taking Travis Hunter. I think that's where they go with the first pick unless they trade back. I just think it makes more sense for them to grab a guy like Travis Hunter because they need a guy that can play wide receiver. But if he doesn't pan out, he's still a good corner. You know, it's that dual threat thing.
We got so long to talk about that. I still
I
think
know.
Justin's a corner. I think he's
The Travis Henry, you mean?
yeah, yeah. I still think Travis is going to be a hunter. He's going to be a hunter at the next level too. He's going to be a football hunter. But yeah, I mean, it depends on who they bring it. Well, we know who they're going to bring in a head coach.
They
They
got
got
Mike Rich,
questions at quarterback though. You know, Joe Milton, man. And I talked to someone the other
big
day
arm,
about this.
big arm,
He
not as
may
accurate.
be, yeah, but he may be one of those players because you don't see him that often. He may be one of those dudes who was always physically built better for the NFL game than he was for the structure in college. Because college football, just like college basketball, is so much predicated on the coaches and their systems and you doing what they want you to do. And we see a prime example of that with Dabo Sweeney in Clemson. Like he had DJ Uyunglele and he tried to turn him into Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence and try to run all these RPOs and ISOs with him. Like, that's not what this dude is. Like, he's not a runner. He can barely complete a pass accurately 20 yards downfield.
And because of what they did to him at Clemson, he fell apart when he went to Florida State. He was so confused, he didn't know what to do. His mechanics were off, his decision making was bad.
I
It
didn't
was
think
a
he was bad his 1 year at Oregon State.
no. At Oregon State, he was fine, but I'm just saying that transition from the first 2 years of Clemson, then going to Oregon State, and then to Florida State, it ruined him.
Yeah. Well, he's ruining his damn self. He should have left 2 years ago. I honestly thought I felt like they had so much. The NFL evaluators had so much bad tape on him and such a bad taste in their mouth from him. You could only make it worse. Staying another year, then he stayed another year after that, and it's like, come on, man.
And that's the other thing is Washington doesn't cover tight ends well. Tight ends eat big in the middle of that Washington defense. So if Rakeshaw has just got the 24-hour bug and he's able to play, I would love to see him out there in the dime formation, helping on that side with the meat on Scary Terry because he has that speed to get in front of him. Leave our two safeties in the two deep zone like we usually do, or one high safety, one of the two. You got to have somebody in center field because where that is where Jaden Daniels makes 50% of all his mistakes that were interceptions. They're in center field deep trying to hit somebody on a long ball because it's either underthrown or overthrown, and a safety can be right there. And we all know that Kirby Joseph has that stealth technology where he disappears and all of a sudden, boom, he's right where the ball is.
I'm thinking honestly before we get too deep into it, because we're gonna go a little deeper into the schemes and everything later on in the week. But I think now, especially with Iffy being back, this is going to be what his fourth full game back, I
Yeah,
believe, third or fourth full game back.
third game.
Yeah,
He came back second before the end. So yeah,
yeah. I think he should start. He should start. He should be. He should start beginning to get his football legs underneath him now. He and Branch offer a lot of versatility that we can use within the front seven. I'm thinking a lot about. Well, of course, you're going to spy him. You're going to spy Jaden Daniels. You can also double spy him on a lot of plays, but you're going to spy him. I wouldn't play too much man on the outside the way we did played a decent amount of man against Minnesota. I'm going to zone a lot. I'm going to fire zone. I want him to hold the ball as much as possible, as long as possible. We don't have to blitz as much. I think we can get home against that offensive line. Just play things safe. Allow him to stand in the pocket, make him make quicker decisions more often, and suffocate him. Because at the
if
end of
he's
the day, and
been
then you're going to play some cover one, and you're going to man up every now and then on the outside against some of those players, and you're going to suffocate things. Because for a quarterback like him, the last thing you want to do is blitz too much. You don't want to blitz him too much because now you're talking about Daniels picking up. It's 3rd and 16, and instead of getting off the field on 3rd and 16, Daniels picks up a 3rd and 16 with a 22-yard run, and we don't want to have too many of those.
James, that's hilarious. Who is Kirby Joseph? Never heard of him. Well, some guy named Aaron started conspiracy theories, but he's stoned on mushrooms. No, if he's been playing the last 3 weeks, he came
Yeah,
back off of the IR in week 15, but
was it the
didn't. And then,
Chicago game?
yeah, week 16, the Chicago game was his first one back. Then he missed a game doing to be into sick on week 17, and then he was back in week 18. That one cracks me up.
Yeah, but I
But
do
yeah,
think. Yeah, you go ahead. Sorry about that.
I saw somebody say that they weren't scared of Zach Ertz. You should be scared of Zach Ertz. He is 100% the receiving red zone threat when they're at less than 10 yards out. Scary Terry is the one in the red zone that usually between 10 and 15, 10 and 20 yards. But if they're under 10, it's going to be either Austin Eckler or Zach Ertz, and that's when you got to be scared. But you know why I'm not scared anymore? Is the same thing I said as soon as I was told he was playing. Alex Anzalone being back, playing sideline to sideline in that red zone defense. How many touchdowns did Minnesota score against us when they've been a good red zone offense all year?
None.
And how many times were they in the red zone? 10 times.
Yeah,
And two
absolutely.
two of them were on turnovers. One was a turnover on downs.
Well, people forget how good, how really good our red zone, well, elite because it's been top five all season. How
Right.
elite our red zone defense has been
Di-
all
But
season, and our third down percentage.
ever since Alex Anzalone went out, and it fell off a bit. It stayed in the top 10, but it added 15% to that red zone defense that if he was there, guess what's happened? That 15% doesn't go up. It was proven just in week 18. That was the difference. Even Rodriguez and all the other Legion of Whom members out there, we weren't as good in the red zone without Alex Anzalone because he is the perfect complement in the middle with Jack Campbell.
Definitely.
I think he does. It's going to be a toss up. I kind of
I
feel
don't
like
see how you don't give it to him.
the only reason why I say this, and hear me out.
No.
Listen to these two quarterbacks, and then I'll give you the stats. Trevor Lawrence, who had a 62% completion percentage this year, Mac Jones, who had 61, and yet Brian Thomas Jr. had 1,200 yards receiving and 10 touchdowns. That's kind of huge, buddy. I got him and Brock Bowers.
Yeah,
That's
you know
it,
what that says to me? That says to me that he's a stud wide receiver.
right?
It
That's what I'm
takes the
saying.
stud. Only the stud wide receivers can make numbers with bad quarterback play.
Right.
Yeah,
That's what I was getting at. So that's why if you look, they were in the playoff race still because of Brian Thomas Jr., not because they were playing great.
yeah. Even for the
It,
people that make a case for Brock Bowers with the Raiders, Brock had a great season. But if you look
record.
at the totality, and I'm not just doing this because he's a quarterback. If you look at the totality and the overall body of work for what Jaden Daniels was able to accomplish this season, this was a team that was dead
I
last
know. I know.
offensively
That's why
last
he's gonna
season.
get it.
And
That's why he's gonna get it. But I wanted to make sure I put those in as my three
yeah,
because I think Bo Nix
oh,
is fourth.
definitely,
I think Bo Nix is
yeah,
fourth.
yeah.
And then the fifth one, throw in anybody you want at
Well, I
that
think,
point. Maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors. It has to
well,
be
I
one of those
think, I
two.
think the Eagle game also a couple weeks ago. The Eagles game is what kind of cemented that win that they had over the Eagles with the game
Oh
winning
God, yeah.
drive and everything. Yeah,
The one that took them out of going for the number one seed.
yeah. But if we're mentioning rookies, though, I think also a rookie people don't mention that much at all, mainly because he doesn't play a sexy position. Tavondre Sweat was like really dominant this year, dude.
Yes, he was. Yes,
Like
he was.
next to Jeffrey Simmons. I know Jeffrey Simmons is
Yeah.
happy.
I mean, look, the Titans are still in the top 10 for defense with a bottom record.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, that's an amazing stat to think about. Oh, I did say Brock Bowers made a case. I think it's one Jaden Daniels. I think it's two Brian Thomas Jr. Three, it's Brock Bowers. If Brock Bowers could have caught some touchdown passes more than four, I'd have had him higher on that list.
well, Brock is just a dude, man. That's just
Right.
what it is. He was his freshman year at Georgia. I told people that dude, if he could come out after his freshman year, he would have been a first round pick.
Oh yeah, and it was the same last year if he'd came out.
Yeah.
I think he'd have been picked before
Well, I think it's the
Laporta.
same with Malachi Starks at Georgia. I said that even though I don't really care for Georgia players, they seem to really bomb out in the NFL. Malachi Starks was a guy that I felt could have been a first round pick as a freshman.
I
And I
still
think he was
think
playing nickel corner as a freshman.
I see we had some questions about the bottom three run D, so I expect the Lions to run it down their throat. Monty
Yep.
snap share expectation. Does he take a smaller share with Gibbs being so hot? I think it'll be a 60-40 split with Gibbs having the lead. And that's just because Gibbs has been hotter lately. So
Yeah.
our 30 carries is going to be like 2010. I think it's going to be 2010 or
Yeah.
17-13, something like that. You know, and remember that includes the passing plays they receive too. I'm just talking
True.
total touches between them because it's usually about 30 touches a game for the running backs between the receiving game and the running game combined.
Yeah. Yeah. I think more than likely first game back, Monty probably sees somewhere between 7 to 12 carries, maybe. Situational. You talking about the if they decide to go for it, if they need to go for it a decent amount. You're talking about giving it to Monty on the 4th and 1, a 4th and 2, if you feel like you need to. Red zone for that matter. Gibbs are going to do majority of the heavy lifting now. This is pretty much what he needed, and we talked about this at the beginning of the season. Sometimes, as a big time talent, all you need is for somebody to get out of your way.
Right.
Like it took for Jack Campbell, it took, and I hate to say this, it took for everybody to get hurt. It took for everybody to get
For
out of
him to
Jack's
shine.
way. Yeah,
Right. For him to
and
shine.
and as much as we love Monty, it took for Monty to kind of to get out of Jameer's way for
Yep.
Jameer to now be what we knew he was at
A
Alabama.
and Ja gives Monty all the credit because he said all offseason,
Definitely.
all he did was work with Ja on how to be better at the stiff arm, how to have more power and explosiveness when he lowered his shoulder so he could get through tackles, and we've seen it this year. He's done it. He looks like a more complete back than he was the year before. Um, what I'm interested to see, and it's not gonna happen tonight, we already know that. They're probably gonna wait to Saturday if they do it, and that's if they activate the 21-day window for Hutchinson. I think you won't see anything till after 4 o'clock on Sunday, and I'm just saying that from everything I've seen from all the reports from medical personnel, not just because, "Ooh, I saw a video."
How do you feel about that?
As well,
I
considering
don't think I've
I've
heard
been
you give your opinions on the possibility of him coming back or being brought back.
I think it's great because I've done the research, and that titanium rod that they put on those bones, the fact that there was no ligament, tendon, muscle, any of that damage, and no nerve damage was the biggest things. It was a clean break. You can say what you want. It was a compound fracture because it broke the skin. That's the only reason why it's considered a compound fracture is it split the skin open, but with no damage to anything. And they were able to do the titanium rod. That made his bones actually stronger than bones now. So if he's running like they showed, and you've seen him when Al Qadim Muhammad got that sack, he was running down the sideline to celebrate with him. You saw that, right? It wasn't just a
I
trot.
saw it.
It wasn't a jog. He ran. I was like, uh-oh. I said,
Yeah.
"Oh, the league's in trouble." Because if we win the divisional round and he's back for the championship game, it's over.
Yeah, I
It's
don't
over.
I don't want to see that. I honestly I care too much about him as a player, his health, long term. We need Aiton good for the next 11 years.
If I didn't
12
hear it
12
from a
years for that
medical
matter.
professional that he could be back by the championship game, I wouldn't even want it. Let's put it that way. I
I
heard
mean,
it
I,
from
I
a
get
medical
it, but
professional.
I've heard he shouldn't from like three or four. Is
Yeah, and
I
there's
think that I just believe this team is good enough to win it without him right now. That I wouldn't even risk it.
and there it is. Odds of re-breaking an already broken leg is low. Repaired bone is way stronger. Yes,
Well, but also the thing is we're talking about you have to factor in what position these guys play. You're talking about playing defensive end. Everything is low bearing, is about angles, is about explosiveness, pressure. He's going to be going up against offensive tackles. It's not like he's out there just as a wide receiver running free routes on air, you know, or he's a cornerback where you're talking about moving north. I mean, not we talking about moving more south. You're talking about a guy who everything is predicated off of him putting his hand in the dirt, low, bearing his weight on that leg, or even if it's not that leg, there's going to be compensation. He hasn't played since what week was that? Week 5? Was it again
week 6. Week 6,
week 6 against
end
Dallas?
of
So
the
you're
3rd
talking
quarter.
about right. So you're talking about throwing him back out there into the middle of a playoff race in live action. I don't trust it at all. I don't think.
I guess
And
I'd
another
look
question
at
I
it
have about this is, what do people expect to see out of a guy that hasn't played since then? That's coming off of a broken leg.
all that that's gonna do is take some of the pressure off of Zeke. I'm just saying his presence out there will just make a difference. He doesn't even have to play at 100%. You know what I'm saying? If he's just there and if he can't give 100%, I'm okay with it because as long as he feels like he can give the best effort on the field he can and not get hurt, that's all that matters to me. And even the
He's a
guy that
player
is
though.
no, but what I'm going
They
back to
always think they can play,
at the
especially
very
guys like
beginning
him.
the very beginning of this injury, his rehab guy from Michigan came on all the different sports channels, and he talked to everybody, including Brad Golly at Channel 7. And he sat there, he goes, "If anybody's gonna be able to come back by the end of the season or in this playoff run, it's Hutchinson because of how he healed with a worse break while he was at Michigan his freshman year. Remember that? That break at Michigan his freshman year was awful. It was the other leg. So
Yeah,
that one has a titanium rod in it on the front bone of his shin. And now the other side got titanium rods on both bones. We got the bionic man.
yeah, I get it. I get it. And Buddy made the comment. knowing Hutch, I bet he has put his body through a strong pain threshold. Yeah, I'm just man. I feel like this team is even though he hasn't played since week 6 and still leads the team in sacks, which is awful. But and we can get deeper into why I think they've still managed to have success, despite the fact they've lost so many guys, Wingo and Pascal in and out, and
Coach.
Levi in and out, and
We're
Broderick is giving
coached.
them nothing.
We're
Yeah,
coached. Top to
yeah,
bottom, we're coached. And you know what he
yeah.
does? Here's the thing. Look at this. We've had 6 to 8 players over the last 8 weeks where you see their name at the top of the PFF rankings on defense and you go, "Who's that? Where'd he come from?" You have to look him up because you didn't know. Why? Because he was a practice squad pickup. Came in, Miles Adams, Pat O'Connor. It sucks. We lost Pat O'Connor for the year, guys. I mean, I know
Jamal
he's out.
Adams for 2 plays.
Yeah, and he's gone. Thank God. Because I knew that was a mistake. I was like, "Why? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? There's better guys we could have picked up." Uh, but yeah, Miles Adams, El Kadeem Muhammad, Pat O'Connor. Even for one game, Ezekiel Turner was excellent.
Yeah.
All these guys came in and just did something that we've never seen that happen before with any other team. Have you? Where they just come in off the street and make that big of a difference in a game where
Nah.
it causes a win? I've never seen that before. And you know what it
Uh-oh.
is?
This look like a Commanders fan here.
Yeah, Aracimi, he's either that or an Eagles fan. I can't remember.
Uh-oh. Commanders
Commanders
have
fan.
the better quarterback. That's bulletin board
Yeah,
material.
that is bulletin board material because I didn't see Jaden Daniels in the top 10 of stats. But anyways, yeah, ABV. That's why I want to see Rick Straw in this field this weekend is ABV. You know what ABV stands for with me, don't you, Walt?
What's it stand for?
Anyone but Vildor. Anyone but Vildor.
It's
In the
possible
playoffs,
he could potentially be an unsung hero. There's always one in every
I
team's
know.
Super Bowl run. What if he turned out to be the guy that gets a pick six off Mahomes in the Super Bowl?
I would I would give him the golf clap, 100%. I'd be like, "Yes, thank you. You did something better than last year."
Say even AG will be shocked. He'll go sit down. The infamous sitting on the bench picture.
Yeah, yeah.
Vildor gets a pick six. He'll go
I
sit
put that.
down.
I've got that picture on my restream, and I put that up during my shows. I said, "You see how happy he was and how calm he was during that Minnesota game? That started from 2 minutes into the second quarter."
Yeah, that man's coaching his ass off. But you mentioned it. It's the coordinators. It's the positional groups coaches. I think Williams has done a great job with the defensive line, considering what he thought he was getting when he first got here with Aleem McNeil, and he started losing guys. And yeah, it took.
Hey, Ricky Scott, let him have it.
All right, Ricky says Commanders had the better quarterback. Question mark? Question mark? Question mark? Boy, you better put the crack pipe down. Dudes had one season. Golf been to the Super Bowl. Stop it. Yeah, I mean, we've seen stories already about people putting out there that he's better. I ain't gonna talk nothing about that, but you know what? You know
uh,
what? You know what? Buddy says love for Kirby to get at least one pick.
I think we might see 2 picks in this game because of center field, but good lord, Orlando, really? All right, I like it.
It's crazy. Man, it's we waited so long for this, man. I mean, like I tell my 7-year-old daughter, she doesn't understand or know anything about this, nor does she give a damn. But
Right,
I try to explain to her, like, you don't know anything but good Lions football.
right.
like, like I suffered the pain. And she'll look at me and say, okay, daddy. And then she go back to her toys and everything, but you
A-
don't know.
And
I take her to
and
games because
for
she likes the free food I get for her
for
and
us
everything.
old
But
school Lions fans, do you know what this is? This is a revenge game.
oh yeah, Mark Rippon. Was it Joe
The
Gibbs,
1991
Art Monk,
NFC Championship game. This is this is
Charles
for the
Mann?
young people's San Francisco 49ers game this year. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
For us old fans, that's what this game is.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, man. It's I thought about that earlier. Ricky says, "Oh no, oh no, you are 100% right, Walt. Nobody deserves this more than us." Yeah, Definitely, definitely, man. We suffered through so much, man, so much.
We
The
suffered through Gary
Philadelphia
Daniels.
Eagle playoff game, that debacle.
Hey,
The
we
playoff
suffered
game
through
in Washington. We owe
the
Washington for
play.
a couple of them.
Yeah, the playoff game in Dallas. The playoff game against Dallas in Pontiac Silverdome. No, I'm good with. We smacked them around like rag dolls, 31-6.
Well, I thought we would have got some revenge against Green Bay from the Sterling Sharp catch, but Green Bay bowed out to Philadelphia rather easily, so that didn't get an opportunity to happen at all. Ricky also says they whooped our butts in 1991, 41-10. I remember that. I remember it
Yeah,
too.
yeah, they had Barry Sanders' number both games that year. They whooped us in the regular season, and they held him to next to nothing, and they did it again in the NFC Championship game.
Well, that Washington team was really good for football fans out there that don't remember because Washington hasn't been good for so damn long.
That was when they
Um,
got the nickname the Hog Mollies for the trenches. I remember that.
Definitely, definitely. So, we can get ready to wrap this up, man. Jeremy, it's been great having you with me tonight in substitution for Ashanti, who's actually under the weather for the night, man. But you, like I said, you're a very, very insightful person around the team, more than I am, for that
But
matter, more than a lot of people I
you
know.
know, I just pay attention more to certain things that I get, like the emails from the pressers, and I read all those and the injury report. I tend to put all that together, and I listen very closely to what they say and the words they use because that'll tell you everything if you listen.
Definitely,
Oh
definitely.
yeah, super random and stupid. I love that name. I'm sorry, I do.
We deserve to win and win big in guaranteed way.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, think
Something's
about
popping
this.
down nowhere. We
We
went
were
on
we
16
were
before we
one
get back season.
we were one we were one safety away from being 1-15 in that game. Remember that? Dan Orlovsky running out the back of the end zone. You bum. 1 point. 1 point.
Ricky, thanks for the compliment. Says, hate to see this show end. This has been an amazing show. I appreciate the time, man. Man, I'm grateful that you feel that way about it. Make sure everybody who joined in for the first time tonight, you guys head over to YouTube, hit the like and subscribe buttons. Really appreciate it. Jeremy, I need you to plug your channels. Let these people know where they can find you at.
Well, if you have Roku or Amazon and you want to get the app, the Huddle Sports Network, you can download that. You can watch all 38 different podcasters go live in there talking at different times about the Lions, all teams across the league, really. You can also find it on my YouTube channel, which is Kneecap Biting with the Motor City Lions, where I go live. I share when I'm live with somebody else, just like I'm doing today, which helps everybody out because when the chat's active, the stream's active. When the stream's active, you get more likes, you get more shares. And that's what gets people out here. It's about growing the channel. And only thing I say to my fans when I end my show, and I want to say it before you take over and plug yours, is try every day to be a better person than you were the day before. That's the only way we're going to make the world a better place.
Man, I really appreciate that. Didn't expect you to say that, man. I'm gonna end it on that. One pride.